Hello, class. Today I will be presenting incarceration and older adults. Older adults to commit crime or whatever, and they are incarcerated. So I'm going to be presenting that challenge that they may deal with. There are numerous challenges found within the United States correctional system. Among the most pressing is meeting the needs of older prison populations, which often require special approaches to their healthcare needs, resources, and more. These are older individuals. Everybody know the elderly requires more care. So just imagine that within the prison system. To date, older prisoners are commonly housed with offenders of all ages. There's no special consideration for that. They're housed with, if they're 60, they're housed with someone that's 30. You know what I'm saying? They don't just say, oh, we're going to put all the old people over here. No, they're housed with, everybody in the general population. This provides unique issues for this demographic, leading to gaps in knowledge and policy. These gaps focus on what defines an older prisoner, training for correctional staff on addressing issues unique to older prison populations, and policy guiding impairment among the population. Additionally, special units, needs of older female prison population, medical release, and palliative medicines are also areas that have significant knowledge and policy gaps when it comes to these geriatric offenders. Health issues are significant amongst the older adult prisoners. Chronic conditions easily managed outside of prison walls turn into major health crisis behind bars. So you may, go in as, say if you were diagnosed with diabetes, so you may go in as type 1, and then you may, when you get incarcerated, it may just become more severe. So also mental health worsens, and even activities of daily life become more challenging within the prison setting. This underscores the importance of social workers for these populations and connecting with resources, creating ethical parameters through which to funnel them. Social work practice amongst these populations is guided by the National Association of Social Workers, Nassau Code of Ethics, and helps social work professionals better understand how to meet the needs of this older adult population in the most effective way. So, integration of the Nassau Code of Ethics and relevance. So, as we know, the Nassau Code of Ethics is relevant because it is the set of our core values and principles that guide the field of social work. We're talking about the older adult population, and the Nassau Code of Ethics adheres here as well. We're talking about in the prison setting, it's the same thing. Nothing changes. Not only does this Code of Ethics provide a summary of how this profession is governed, but it also offers a guide of dealing with the ethical issues in the field. So you have ethical issues in the prison system, and the Nassau Code of Ethics is here to guide, the field of social work that way. It provides a cohesive approach to social work practice, ensuring that all professional social workers adhere to the same set of principles and codes. So just because I'm talking about the older adults that are incarcerated doesn't mean that it's a different code of ethics. It's the same code of ethics. It's just a different population. It's just a different environment and setting. There are various capacities in which a social worker might find themselves in a position either working in-house within a correctional facility that houses older prisoners, or with an organization that partners with corrections to provide resources and aid to prisoners. So for example, social workers that work with prisoners, they are in-house. I am currently a social worker for the city of Philadelphia, but I am in the Department of Human Services, Children and Youth. We also have in the city of Philadelphia Department of Corrections and social workers that work up there. I don't know if you're familiar with Philadelphia County, but our jails and prisons are up on State Road in the Northeast. So social workers that work within that population and in their environment and setting, they're locked down right with those prisoners. They're only allowed to go out 1 hour. I work with them or whatever, and it's just they're in there with the prisoners. Social work professionals also help to steer policy on this issue, which is part of why understanding the unique challenges that older prisoners face is so important. So the research and interventions that we may use as clinicians. So narrative therapy, I chose this one. This is my favorite out of the therapies that I would implement amongst all populations. But it's been proven, to be used on an older adult population, specifically struggling with substance abuse and mental health in prison. So those are the main two issues that, the prisoners are struggling with. This therapy allows, the offenders to tell their story. What did you do? Why did you do this crime? Please tell the story. So as a clinician, we would bring them into our office and they're able to tell, that it's going to be in a private environment because they might not want to tell everyone, initially about what happened, but we're going to bring them in our office. We're going to implement the narrative therapy. It gives them a chance to tell their story. It gives them the chance to right their wrongs. And an additional intervention that has been incorporated from a social work perspective is incorporation of prison hospice care. So, this practice allows for prisoners that are dealing with major end-of-life issues, allowing them to, to do with greater flexibility and dignity and comfort that might have otherwise been afforded to them. So the incorporation of this practice acknowledges some of the harsh realities that older patients face when they face their end-of-life prison setting. Additional interventions incorporated through social work practice include recognition and addition of mobility aids in prisons for older offenders who have limited physical mobility. For example, can't walk anymore. You're older. You can't walk anymore. Oh, say Joe is my client. Joe really can't walk anymore. But still, Steve can't walk anymore either. We're going to implement, mobility aids in addition to assign them to a group. All of these people, they're older adults, they can't walk, they're suffering with the issues dealing specific with aging. So these are concrete, interventions that we as social workers going to implement, to this setting inside the prison. Older adults issues during incarceration. Social workers are charged with dealing with a myriad of issues that prisoners of all ages, including older offenders, may be dealing with from a social work perspective. For example, substance abuse and mental health, they're the two common, as I mentioned before, they're the two common fates or whatever. To be successful in helping these offenders dealing with these issues, social worker must be aware of how their experience may differ from their younger counterparts. So, for example, Joe, your client, might suffer from ADHD, and he is 60. But here is Steve, he's 30, he suffered from the same thing. Or I'm going to say, depression. They're two different ages. You have to deal with them differently or whatever. And to be successful in helping older offenders with these issues, we must be aware of how their experience may differ. You see what I'm saying? Like their experience, they're older. It's going to be a different experience from the younger counterpart. When considering how ethics and social work practice are imperative to addressing the needs of older prisoners, there are questions specific to the issue that bear exploration and further research. So, What are specific characteristics of social work policy as it relates to older offenders, and why is it such a policy important? Why are older prisoners so vulnerable? Would age-specific facilities be a valuable policy direction? And how can social workers incorporate community-based senior services in their provision of resources to older offenders? So you might want to think about this. These are questions that have you thinking, say, I don't know. This requires, further research or whatever, but these are questions in relation to incarcerated older adults. Older adult incarceration relevance for micro level and macro level practice. So, social work practice for older adult offenders on a micro level involves therapeutic intervention, recognition of individual challenges due to age, and facilitation of resources to help individual offenders to function better in the prison environment despite their age. And this is IDEA social work. This is IDEA social work professionals work directly with prison populations, as these professionals are on the ground with these offenders. Like I said, they are locked down with these offenders. They're in there. There's no other way to explain it. We have the luxury. I don't know what kind of worker you may be or what kind of worker you're looking to be, but I'm going to go off of my experience. I have the luxury of not being in the same setting with my client during my 8-hour shift. Whereas though the social worker that works with the prisoner, they're in there, they're locked down in there. So when it says that they understand that the prison environment and the difference between the research and application and prison cultures, and that's important too. You have to learn the culture up there. I've known workers that worked within the prison and started out, and that wasn't for them, because you have to learn the culture up there. And you have to get used to lockdown. You have to get used to all of that. So, I'm saying there can be a world of difference between what is beneficial for the offender and what is possible. On the macro level, social workers have the responsibility to educate communities on why acknowledging these needs among older prisoners is important. After all, prisoners of all ages are often left behind from the society perspective. Prisoners are locked away from their families, their friends, and communities, and they don't have any real input on the environment in which they now dwell, on the circumstances which they may find themselves. This is difficult enough as an adult, so imagine it to be more challenging with age, and imagine it to be more challenging within that prison setting. Older adult prisoners experience the same physical and mental decay as the average citizen. The difference is they must still navigate a precarious and often violent environment that commands a sharp mind and physical ability. Yeah, they're older, but they still have to think, I'm in jail or whatever. Everybody is not in their right state of mind. So you see what I'm saying? It's a different setting, and they have to train their mind to be able to evolve and manipulate through that prison setting. Social workers recognize this. We as social workers, we recognize this, and we may be able to help create a policy that account for aging in such a volatile environment. I hope in the future we may. So in the conclusion, older adult prisoners require more social work intervention for the same reasons that they require the intervention outside the system. Aging is physically and mentally taxing. An older person's position behind bars to repay their debt to society does not mitigate the harsh realities of aging. Physical and mental decline happens no matter where a person is. So it happens whether they're in jail or they're not. Society has mandated resources that has been availed to populations of social workers, ones that ensure those fringes in society. Older adult prisoners are no different. In fact, their physical environment demands more from social work professionals. Yeah, we have to be, if you're thinking about working within this population, you have to dedicate yourself to this population, because the older adults, their needs are more needy outside. So imagine it, while they're in there. The resources provided to them through a social worker can make navigating prison easier. for them. It shows that while these individuals have lost their freedom, they don't have to lose their dignity. And here are my references. Thank you.